Welcome to Girl's Guide to the Military. I know last week I promised you that we'd be covering the reasons people don't join the military, but with the Air Force and Army coming out with new hair regulations, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about the changes and how they will affect you as you serve in the military and what may be coming for other branches based on what the Air Force and the Army are putting out. So let's get started with this video about the new hair regulations for both the Air Force and the Army. In honor of the new regulation, I wore my hair in a braid because that's part of the regulation, but I'll go in more detail at the end of the video about regulations. Right now I want to talk about why this is such a big deal and how these changes came about. And most of my research about how these changes came about are focused on the Air Force because their regulation came out first. And the information that I found applies both to the Army, but we're going to talk a little bit more about the Air Force and what they did and how the changes that they're making came about. And the Air Force did an open call survey with over 10,000 respondents. 93% of the women who responded said that there should be changes made to the Air Force hair regulation. And what I found even more surprising, but not unexpected, was that 52% of respondents said that they dealt with headaches or migraines based on their hair being up in a tight bun. I don't know if you know this, but many people who have their hair pulled back in a tight bun suffer from headaches, migraines, hair loss, receding hairline, and sometimes even from having moldy hair because it's not able to dry out. So there are a number of medical reasons having your hair up in a bun is not the best way to help the military. Speaking of my own experience, when I was in the Air Force, I struggled with my hair. I have a lot of flyaways and wispy hair, and I also have no real fashion sense, so I didn't have any experience having my hair done up formally, and I just really struggled to get my hair to look the way it was supposed to, and then also experienced headaches when I first tried to have my hair up in the bun. And so when I went to field training, another senior cadet had recommended that I do the easy thing, which was chop off my hair. So my hair was about as long as it is now, and I chopped over 10 inches off so that it would be above my collar and it wouldn't grow out past my collar for the month that I was at my basic training. And then when I was deployed to Afghanistan with the Army, I had to wear a helmet while I was deployed and still have my hair in a bun, and there isn't really any space in your helmet for a bun, so it made things rather difficult. I did see in my research that the Army is allowing women to wear their hair in braids during combat, and the only thing you have to do is tuck it inside your blouse. And I was thinking about my experience being deployed and how much easier it would have been to have my hair down in a braid and then shoved down my blouse and then my helmet on my head. It was really uncomfortable to wear a helmet when I first started wearing it because of the pads that would be on my head, but then the added stress of having my hair in a bun and pulled back made it even harder. And so I think these changes will help people in the military not just to be more comfortable for day to day, but when you're on a mission and not have to worry about your hair being shoved in a bun and uncomfortable and preventing you from shooting well or just being comfortable while you're out on patrols. But going back to the changes that came about in the Air Force, I thought it was really interesting to learn about 4 airmen, and I'll link to the full article in the comments about how their work was what inspired the change that is happening today. And you might think all 4 of the airmen who advocated for women's hair were women, but one of the 4 airmen who advocated for women is actually a male. He was a staff sergeant. He noticed there was something off with one of his airmen, and he asked her what was wrong, and she told him about how having her hair up in a bun caused migraines. And he was married to a staff sergeant, and she was actually deployed, and he told her about what happened at work, and she told him, to his surprise, that she suffered with the same type of headaches and migraines caused by wearing her hair back in a bun. And so he thought this was horrifying and started working to make changes. he faced a lot of challenges and pushback, and he said that he got stuck in like a frozen land of where nothing was getting done. But he's really excited that through the work he's done and the other airmen that are mentioned in this article and all the work they've done, that things are starting to change. And it's really exciting for women who are serving in the military and for the next generation of women, because it's I was telling someone earlier today, it's a small thing, but it's also a really big thing, because having to have my hair up in a bun when I was trying to work out in the field, especially while I was deployed, was really a rather difficult thing and a little bit frustrating, and made it harder to do my job. And so this is a really good change. The Air Force changed the hair standards for physical fitness while I was in ROTC, and I know the Army recently changed the hair standards for fitness along with the Marine Corps and the Navy. So now women can wear ponytails while doing physical fitness, and I think that's a positive change to help make it easier to work out and not have to worry about your hair being in place. So that's a little bit of the history. I'm going to dive into the regulations and what they are for the Air Force and the Army and how they're changing and when they take effect, and then I'll wrap it up. So now that we know the why and a little bit about my experience of serving in the military, we're going to talk about the regulations for both the Air Force and the Army. And I really love this graphic provided by the Air Force that was done by Corey Parrish, because it really gives you a good picture of what the new standards are. So let's go over them with the militarized version, and then the picture kind of gives you the layman's terms of what's happening. Okay, so it says, as an outcome of the 101st Air Force Uniform Board, Air Force women will be allowed to wear their hair in up to 2 braids or a single ponytail with a bulk not exceeding the width of the head and length not extending below a horizontal line running between the top of each sleeves and seams at the underarm through the shoulder blades. In addition, women's bangs may now touch their eyebrows but not cover their eyes. These new changes will be effective upon publication of the new standards in the Air Force Instruction 36-2903 on February 10th. The Air Force regulations are pretty straightforward, but I'll link to the sources that I used in the description so that if you want to learn more, you can read more about how these changes were made and why they were made and what they are if you want more detail. The Army wasn't quite as straightforward with the information that I could find, but I did find a great article on army.mil, and I'll link to that in the description so that you can find it and read the full article. But I'm mainly going to cover the main changes that were made and discuss a little bit about what is taking place. And all the changes for the Army are going to go live on February 25th when AR 670-1 is to be formally published. So let's talk about the first thing. The first thing was that women's hair no longer had a minimum hair length. One of the reasons this was changed was because with women being in the combat arms of the military, often you need to cut your hair short for hygiene reasons. And to have it as short as they needed to get through the training, it had to be shorter than 1/4 inch. So that change was made. The next main change is that soldiers will be authorized to wear multiple hairstyles as long as it maintains a neat and professional appearance, and if the hairstyle doesn't impede with the use of headgear or other equipment. Currently, soldiers are allowed to braid, twist, lock, or cornrow their hair if they are in uniform, and no greater than 1/2 inch in width. Individuals must have appropriate size, spacing between braids and cornrows, and are authorized one distinct type of hairstyle at a time. The updated standard has removed the constraints of dimensions and requirements. So before, you had a lot of rules and regulations about how your hair is done, and it had to all be the same, and it couldn't be a mixture, and now they've taken those away. The next thing is that soldiers with a medium hair length will have the option to wear a ponytail if the individual hair length or texture prevents them from securing it into a tight bun. A medium hair length style must extend more than 1 inch from the scalp and cannot exceed the lower edge of the collar in all uniforms. In this new policy, medium-length ponytails are only authorized for wear on the back of the scalp and cannot exceed the head's width or interfere with the proper wear of soldiers' headgear. This standard will allow females with long hair to have the option to wear a ponytail while wearing an Army combat uniform during physical training or while wearing a tactical headgear during tactical training or combat operations. You can take your hair and stick it down your shirt, as I mentioned earlier in the video. And the Army defines long hair as a length that extends beyond the collar. Another major change in the Army's uniform standards is that women will be authorized to wear earrings in their ACUs. You can't wear them out in the field, but you can wear them on a typical day when you're in the office and not doing field work. The Army also approved the use of additional colors of lipstick, nail polish, including the wear of clear nail polish by male soldiers. Females also have the option to wear an American manicure, which is a two-tone style manicure that maintains a natural appearance. And those are the main changes related to hair. I want to mention, because I found it really interesting when I was doing my research, that there are some changes on when, where, and how women can breastfeed while in uniform for the Army standards. And so they've made it so that your baby is authorized to be anywhere that you are, and that you can take off your blouse so that you can breastfeed. So I think that might be another interesting video in the future to give a little update on what the breastfeeding requirements are. But I just wanted to mention it real quick because I found it really interesting, and it's something that I think needs to be addressed, and I'm glad to see that the Army is taking breastfeeding and hair and all these things so seriously. As I mentioned, the Air Force and the Army are the only ones who have made changes so far, and I'll keep tracking hair regulations and see if there are more changes coming from the other branches. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think that this is a good idea for the military to change the hair regulations for women? Why or why not? And do you think this will have a positive effect on women joining and serving in the military? Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a great week.